Hello, and welcome back to Masters of Inventory. I'm your host, Mandy Madsen, and I'm here joined with Stan Andrus, CEO of Simple RFID.
Hello.
And today we're diving into the world of footwear inventory management. So we're going to cover sneaker boutiques, shoe stores, running shops, and really any place that has shoes on the shelf. So if you're in the footwear business, this episode is for you. So as you all know, with so many styles and colors to track, managing this type of inventory is no small feat, pun intended. And just for kicks, we've sprinkled extra puns throughout this episode. So let's see how many you can catch.
That's right, Mandy. Yeah, so we're really excited to chat about this topic. Really, those who feel like inventory management has them running in circles, really RFID is the technology to help them get back on track. And obviously today in our podcast, we'll talk about the main pain points that we see that footwear retailers are facing, and really how RFID is stepping in to really solve those challenges. So we're going to go ahead and list the top 6 pain points that footwear retailers face, and really how RFID makes the pain go away. So
perfect.
Yeah.
Okay, so let's dive deeper into the traditional inventory counting methods shoe retailers have been doing for a long time. So picture this: a team of employees armed with barcode scanners, meticulously working their way through the store. They're scanning each item one by one, battling through endless rows of shoes and stacks. Mm-hmm. And if a barcode happens to be missing or damaged, that's a frustrating delay, as they either try to find the correct item or resort to manual entry. So that introduces the risk of human error. And it's a painstakingly monotonous process that often leads to inaccuracies. So employees climbing ladders to reach high shelves and straining to identify shoe boxes that are nearly identical.
Right, absolutely. It's really no wonder that traditional methods feel like a chore, because they are, right? I mean, it's like a never-ending process. You think about all of the discomfort, the bending, the stretching, the climbing, and really a lot of this is being done by outsourcing, right? A lot of times retailers don't have the staff available to even do this themselves, and so they will go and hire. There's some big companies out there, we won't name names, that actually are dedicated to doing this kind of stuff, where they show up and all have barcode scanners, and there's 20 people in your store that you don't know who they are, and they take over and are there all night or 2 nights, all night. So really, these traditional methods are not realistic for most shoe retailers. And they're there working all day, serving customers. They really can't be pulled away to go grab a barcode scanner and count all night long. So
yeah. So let's talk about how we solve that with RFID.
Right.
It's a beautiful picture. So picture this: one person.
Right.
Instead of a team of people fumbling through the store with scanners, we have one person walking down the aisle,
right,
waving the RFID wand, and they're counting hundreds of items per second from a distance of about 15 feet, just like magic.
Right. For sure. So you're able to do a complete inventory audit in minutes versus hours, like we've talked about. This is so interesting because I have worked in a lot of different retail settings in my former life, and I actually did shoes as well. And a lot of the times what we would see is that when people would grab a pair of shoes, they wouldn't put it back in the same spot where we would assume that it would be. And so you go look for whatever the system says you have or you're supposed to have, and inevitably people would leave empty-handed. I remember all the time people would leave empty-handed, and a lot of times later on we go, oh, there is an 8 here, I didn't realize that. And so the fact is the process of scanning with barcodes really doesn't offer any advantage. RFID, of course, because the tags are serialized, it's impossible to double count, and so you really eliminate that human error component. It's really a game changer. We've said it several times before, but it really gives companies their time back. because they're not dedicating it to monotonous processes that are, that take up hours and hours of time. So really that means that your staff can focus on things that drive revenue. They can provide a much better customer experience. And so it ends up being a real win-win for everybody. It makes the employees happy. It makes the store owner happy, makes the customer happy. So it's really a win-win-win. So really turning inventory management from a hassle into a smooth process that feels like a walk in the park.
Walk in the park.
Right.
So the truth is footwear retailers are perfectly positioned for RFID, and we'll jump into why. We went to Vegas not too long ago.
Right.
We took our RFID readers to one of the big fashion malls and found a few basically sneaker boutique type stores. They have a lot of Nike products.
Tons.
And just within a few seconds of pulling the trigger, we counted thousands of tags because Nike's tagging their products with RFID. So whether or not the stores are using a scanner, they're still sending this product in with RFID.
Right.
So a lot of retailers actually don't even know that they have this tool at their fingertips, and all they really need is a reader to make it work.
Right. It's pretty hard to believe, honestly. And you think about the nuances of footwear. I mean, okay, you're a clothing retailer and you've got sizes small, medium, large, extra large. You may have extra small. You may have extra large, but that's only 5 or 6 different size variant options. Go to footwear. You think about you have half sizes: 8, 8.5, 9, 9.5.
Men's and women's.
Yeah, you have men's and women's. You have widths.
Widths.
You have seasons and styles of each season, and then there's a lot of specialty types of shoes too. So the number of variants, the number of variants of the products is so much greater. And so retailers may only have 1 or 2 pairs of each size, style, variant, combination. So it becomes increasingly more relevant and more important to be able to really count and identify those accurately, right? So
absolutely. Okay, so let's talk about shrinkage. Shrinkage is a huge challenge in the footwear industry, so especially for boutiques carrying high-value items, so shoes can easily walk off.
Right.
And so, Stan, if you want to address how retailers are able to put a stop to this.
Yeah, it's really interesting because we go into a lot of sneaker boutiques, and different shoe stores, during our sales and that, and it's interesting, sneakers nowadays are a sought after commodity, right?
Totally.
I mean, we're going into some of these stores
SneakerCon.
Yeah, SneakerCon and some of these pairs of shoes are $500 or more, $1,000 because they're so sought after and they're so limited in supply. So you think about how relevant that is for store owners that are carrying these high value products to know that those items are still there. I
Absolutely.
mean, it's not just a pair of shoes walking off at that point. It's it's $1,000 or more or whatever per pair of shoes. So and business owners can't sit and oversee their stock that easily, especially if they have multiple stores, right? So RFID really provides them a granular visibility to their full entire shoe stock without having to be there themselves and overseeing it. So it's really an incredible technology for these specialty shoe boutiques, especially, I would say. So
for sure, because of the speed of the audits, then they can be auditing morning and night and being able to say okay, is everything that's missing tied to a sale, or is that due to somebody taking off with a pair of shoes? Maybe you can check your security cameras.
Yeah, absolutely.
Figure that out. So all right, so let's talk about another use case. That's traveling events, because I know we've talked to some running stores and they say they go to these races and they have to take a tent and some shoes and go and have take a segment of their inventory, and they have had a problem tracking that, knowing what they're taking, what's sold while it's there, and then if they got everything back. That's a pretty big deal when you have so many. When you're away from your store, a lot can go wrong. So
absolutely.
What do we do about that?
Right. I mean, it's so true. I mean, if you don't have what you need, you're probably not going to have great sales at one of those events, right? So just from the very beginning, making sure you actually have the selection that the customers are going to demand so that you can actually have success at these, roving, these trunk shows. But yeah, very importantly, you're out in a tent outside. There's not a lot of safety checks. A lot of things are also in boxes. Like we see a lot of these plastic totes that companies will throw, shoes into. And the benefits of RFID come into play there as well, where instead of having to dig open every single one of these plastic totes to find that one size that customer is waiting for, you can take the reader, hover it over these totes, and find the right one that it's in. And really, again, it improves that customer experience so much because they're not sitting around waiting and considering why they purchased a pair of shoes from you. So
absolutely. Okay, so let's talk about preventing stockouts and missed sales. So nothing's more disappointing for a customer than hearing out of stock. So especially after they've set their heart on a certain pair of shoes they found online. So
yeah, absolutely. Yeah. The ability for you to go in and capture this data so quickly and so accurately really helps ensure that you're able to restock not only your warehouse, so that you can, you don't run out of stock for your stores, but also at that store level, so that when the customer shows up to purchase, they actually have what they need and want to buy. So it's really, really interesting because we see so much of that as well, where business owners will look at RFID and question the value, but they're not considering all of the times when they're losing out on these sales. When somebody comes in looking for a size, looking for whatever, and it's not there. And with better visibility, with better operational control, you're going to have those products where they're supposed to be when you need them. So
absolutely. And if you're a customer and you like to buy a certain kind of shoe or brand, and you go to a store and repeatedly they don't have it, it's sold out, you're going to lose trust in that company to be able to have what you need. You might find another source. So
for sure.
with this solution, it keeps things running smoothly, it builds trust, and encourages your customers to return.
For sure. And to your point there, that is massive, especially when it comes to online sales. How many times are you going to go to a website and try to buy a pair of shoes if every single time you go and it says out of stock? You're probably not going to return very often. So really, the ability to have what the customer needs and wants when they need and want it is vital to staying in business and being profitable as a shoe retailer. So,
So, and speaking of stock levels, reordering can be tricky too. So you don't want to order too much of what doesn't sell and not enough of what does.
Absolutely. Just end up with bloated inventory, shoes that never sell, and now you got to go discount them and get rid of them. So yeah, absolutely. Businesses are penalized on purchasing too little or purchasing too much, right? So really, inventory management is about finding that sweet spot and putting your resources, your capital, into products that are going to move, that are going to provide the highest percentage return on your investment, and are going to provide a great, unique buying experience for your customers too. So.
For sure.
Yeah, I mean, I was going to mention, obviously for a lot of these running shoe stores, we see a lot of them now migrating over to Shopify. A lot of them are on Lightspeed. We see that as well. And, a lot of them are on platforms like Retail Pro. But, the ability to have a seamless integration with a platform where you can make that an easy process for your staff to be able to perform these audits, these scans, and then compare that against your online or your point of sale numbers is really, really critical too. Otherwise, you end up with the data, and then what do you do with it? So that's something that we have really leaned into and are focused on as a company, and that is integrations with some of these point of sale and e-commerce platforms to make that experience of using RFID simple, so that it actually gets utilized. So
yeah, it's like slipping into a perfect pair of shoes. It just fits. Allowing retailers to leverage RFID power with ease.
Absolutely.
You convinced?
Yeah, I'm convinced.
All right, so today we covered a lot of ground, pun totally intended, about how RFID is totally perfect for the footwear industry.
Right. Yeah, absolutely. And it's really more than just a tool. It's becoming a must-have, a critical backbone technology for smart inventory management, right? And it really allows retailers to focus on their core competency, and that is retailing, selling products, providing an amazing customer experience, and really leaving a lot of the grunt work, for technology. right? So
I think that's all we have for today. So thank you for tuning into Masters of Inventory. So be sure to subscribe, like the show, and next time we're going to talk about another industry. You know, we've talked about footwear. We have other industries that are really big, like such as jewelry and other apparel, and
tons of other verticals that are really ripe to be transformed with inventory management.
Absolutely.
You know, with RFID. You know, just one last thing to add. You know, before we conclude. You know, any of you shoe retailers out there that are wondering to yourselves, hey, do I have inventory that's already tagged with this technology? You reach out to us. We have a list of different, you know, shoe brands that are already tagging, and it's quite considerable. You know, the big majors are already doing it: Puma, you know, Adidas, Nike. But there's tons and tons of other small brands that we're now finding that are starting to tag as well. So it's really super easy to take advantage of those existing stickers. So, you know, reach out to us if you're interested in finding out if your inventory is already stocked with a whole bunch of these tags. And we do trials, so you guys could get a handheld reader and just walk through your store and scan and identify all of these stray tags that you could be using today. So
we also have bundled, like, to make it really easy for these stores to start, we've bundled like the equipment, everything you need to get started, and like a starter kit of labels.
Right.
So reach out to us too about that. We can help you.
For sure.
And also remember that friends don't let friends count inventory manually.
Absolutely.
So if you have friends that could use this information, please pass it along.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, and we definitely appreciate your time and tuning in to Masters of Inventory. If you guys haven't done so, subscribe to our podcast, and if you like this episode, you can give us a like, and we hope to have you join us in our next episode. So thanks.
Okay.